Hello everyone, and welcome back to Game Droid, and welcome back to modern Skyblock 3. Um, there we go, because we're not going to other planets for a while. So we need to do some work. I've made a few of these basic machine chassis, so we're going to make ourselves a salt mixer and just add it into our chain of devices for now. So down here in large multi-blocks, the salt mixer can mix salts together, that's fine. We want infusing fluids, so we want the fluid infuser. All of these require these machine blocks, which are pretty simple. So fluid infuser is just advanced alloys. We get these from loot bags as well as servo mechanisms. So all of this crafting to make these things, making lots and lots of tough alloys and stuff like that, we don't have to do. We just have to make these central machine chassis, which is pretty good. Like, the fact that we can cheese that slightly, I am a big fan of. So those fluid infusers fuse items with fluids, mainly used for fusing radioactive isotopes with oxygen. We also need helium collector and a nitrogen collector. Now, I did have to make some depleted thorium, and I just did that using a decay generator. There we go, we've got nitrogen and helium, and these things, like a lot of the nuclear craft collector blocks, like the nuclear craft water and cobblestone generators, they're just passive blocks that just slowly fill themselves up, which is fine. And for that we need supercool, and supercool is down here, which is supercooler. So we want to make ourselves a supercooler. Superconducting supercooler. Supercooler. Advanced plating, magnesium diboride, hard alloys. We should have all of that. The Hoth machine. Okay, so the supercooler cools down fluids. Okay. Let's have a look at the use on the supercooler. It allows us to turn helium gas into liquid helium and water into crushed ice. Cool, can we make smoothies? Can we make smoothies out of crushed ice? Then it wants us to make all the different kinds of cooler. And the way we do that is we combine cooler blocks, these empty coolers, with buckets of water, redstone, quartz. So basically we need to make, how many of these do we want? We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 cooler blocks. And these are tough alloy and steel for 2. I don't think we're going to have enough tough alloys, so we might have to set some more tough alloys crafting. And we're back. So I made some depleted uranium block, and I upgraded to a compact helium generator, which is 80 instead of 10 per tick. And I think if it works the same way the other ones do, that should just autofill. Yeah, that just autofills into there, which is excellent. So it uses up quite a bit, but we should be... Yeah, we're actually filling up faster than we can do that. So if I grab, say, 1, 2, 3 from there, and we go up to 20, might be a little bit faster. So we need a full bucket of liquid helium for that one. So that one is ticking away, making us a bucket of liquid helium. The enderium one's going to be really easy to make. That's 140. The cryothium one should be pretty easy to make. So the only one we've got left is the liquid helium one. It doesn't want a liquid helium one. Oh! Okay. Active fluid cooling is when you give coolant, given a coolant can cool down a fission or fusion reactor. Fair enough. And we're headed for this one. We want plutonium, which requires fuel rods, which requires a fission reactor. We want 26 reactor casing and a fission controller. So let's have a look at reactor casing. So we need how many of these? 26. And each one of these is a tough alloy ingot and basic plating. That's easy enough. So. And then we want a fission controller. Fission controller is... This is an old controller and we'll use the old reactor rules. This is a new controller and we'll use the new reactor rules. I'm assuming that Yeah, so we need to make another nuclear furnace. So I'm assuming like this one's the only one that we've got a recipe for, and it does look like this one is the only one we can get a recipe for. At the brink of going and killing that blinking cat, though. So there we go. We completed another quest, which was the fission reactor quest. The fission reactor is a multi-block shaped like a box with the sides and corners being left out. It can be pretty much any size. A box with the side and the corners left out. So I presume what it means by that is basically we do 2x2x2 fission reactor. Yeah, that's interesting. So I assume we then give it a reactant and it generates energy and heat, and then we use the coolant cells around the outside of it to cool it down. Okay. So I'd be slightly curious like how much power this thing produces. This is probably a bad idea because this is probably going to explode. But if we put a little thing in... No? So we actually need fuel tablets. I think we can actually make a fuel tablet out of our thorium here. Yeah, we can make a TBU fuel tablet. Power generation 1200 RF per tick, efficiency 100%. So it's not actually generating any power. So do I need a... What's it called? No, I've got all of that. Beryllium is only considered active if touching at least one reactor cell. Active beryllium increases reactor efficiency but also produces extra heat. Each beryllium block, the additional power generated is equal to the base RF times cell efficiency over 6 RF per tick for each adjacent reactor cell. Oh, so we can then make it more efficient. It's not actually generating power. Let's just try the really basic, really basic thing of... Ah, yes. And now it's generating 1200 RF per tick and slowly using up TBU fuels. And that's a really basic fuel. Like, that's a really basic fuel. And that's without making beryllium or anything like that. This might actually be far more efficient than the extreme reactors. We've got no heating problems. And then that fills that up. Ah. I'll just burn it through and see what kind of depleted fuel we get out the other end. In the meantime, how goes our liquid helium? We have a bucket of liquid helium. Excellent. So we can make ourselves the last of the coolant cells, which is the liquid helium cell. And then we can put the coolant cells away. This is very interesting, like another equivalent of a big reactor, but with a little bit more interesting detail. We're not just looking at cooling, we're also looking at reaction increases and cell comparators and things like that. Interesting principle, interesting idea. Certainly something that is curious. So we need to get an HEU235. So HEU233, 235. We get that with uranium-235 and uranium-238. So uranium-235 comes from... I can just separate yellorium to get it. Right, okie dokie. That makes this a bit easier. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to make this stuff, which is the high density fuel. And then it wants us to make a fuel rod, which I presume we just craft this into fuel rod. No? Let's try a basic crafting table. No. we're supposed to just be able to craft this into a fuel rod. Fuel rods are not required anymore. So this has been updated apparently since... Let's just try a basic crafting table. So this is actually impossible, this quest at the moment, with the current... this isn't the current update. I actually had to roll back because the current update didn't work for me. So I don't know if this has been fixed in the most recent update to this mod pack. Very, very probably it has. Very, very probably it has. So we want large multi-blocks, designer, back, complete. Done. Because I can't actually complete that manually because the fuel rods have actually been removed from that mod pack. So plutonium requires a fuel reprocessor and it wants us to make a tiny clump of plutonium. So we just need to make a fuel reprocessor because we've actually made the plutonium. Reprocessor. Yeah, just basic materials from this mod again. And the fuel reprocessor extracts materials from depleted fuels. Fair enough. I assume it's like normally you would go through a sequence of events to get to that. And then it wants to make us to make a plutonium RTG. Well, the plutonium RTG should be pretty simple because we just need plutonium to get plutonium. Let's just have a quick look at a plutonium RTG. Plutonium RTG requires plutonium-238, which we can get from isotope separating... No? I'm sure I'm sort of overcomplicating this. Let's just make some plutonium. Because I'm sure that we had a look and it literally was just plutonium gives us the plutonium isotopes that we want. It's an alloy furnace. We want the isotope separator. Plutonium-239. I don't think that's... I think we want plutonium-238. We do. An isotope of plutonium. So the question is, plutonium-238 only comes from... Yeah, it only comes from depleted HEN-236. And depleted HEN-236 only comes from HEN-236. And HEN-236 only comes from... Neptunium and LN... And LEN-236 comes from Neptunium-236, which comes from depleted TBU fuel. TBU fuel comes from thorium. Okay, so we can actually do that. What we need is we need depleted TBU fuels. So TBU fuels and depleted TBU fuels. Okay. And we're back. So I did a little bit of work, and what we got from reprocessing the TBU was enough stuff to make some HEU and to make some HEN-236 fuel. Now, HEN-236 is one of the things we need to make plutonium, but we're going to need a lot more than that, because if we decay this down into depleted and then we reprocess it, we're only going to get 32 chunks of... nope, that's not what we get. Use, it's... What is it we need? We need 238, isn't it? Yeah, 238. So we're only going to get 8 pieces of 238. We're only going to get 8 pieces of 238. So we need at least 2 of these HENs. The problem is what we are missing with the HEN is we are missing this uranium-236. Because reprocessing... sorry, Neptunium-236, because reprocessing thorium gets us lots of 237, but very, very little 236. It only gets us 8 pieces of 236 compared to 32 of 237. So I was having a look through, and I found that we can get a lot of 236 from HEU fuels. And those are made out of uranium isotopes. And the uranium isotopes we get very, very easily by reprocessing TBUs. So it's a case of kind of like making fuel to reprocess into additional fuels, to reprocess into additional fuels, to reprocess into additional fuels. It's really quite involved. But now we should have enough to make... Oh, we had a nuclear meltdown, and I'm not sure why. Buckets. Did it get too hot? Why can't I see buckets? Buckets, please. It shouldn't have been able to do... Like, it's not destroyed power cables because it wasn't attached to the power system. Has running these machines depleted my power source entirely? No, I still have 3.1 million... Still got plenty of energy. Is it just that for some reason the energy didn't get through here? Okay, so we are back and loading into our compact machine. Fingers crossed we don't crash again. So there is an energy acceptor here. Let's throw some energy out into this bad boy. Quantum link chamber is still alive and active. There we go, we've got these things alive. Excellent, so that now works again. Lovely. So what I need to do is basically set this up with a permanent power source, or at least a temporary permanent power source. And ironically, we made ourselves, not long ago, an RTG. Not the plutonium one that we're trying to make, but a uranium RTG, which was super, super easy to make. So if we just pop that there, that should be perpetually outputting power to this. Just via there. So hopefully that means we are safe from that happening again. That was really inconvenient timing. Just as stuff broke. Just as stuff broke. Okay. So let's have another look at this thing. So let's come over here. Let's make ourselves some more reactor casings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slightly bigger reactor, and I'm going to put a hell of a lot more cooling units in it. And I'm going to put highly efficient cooling units in it. I assume that basically that was the problem, is our reactor was too small and we just overheated our reactor, which makes perfect sense, because it does say that you need to cool your reactor. And we had cooling enough for the basic fuels, but I'm assuming we needed a heck of a lot more cooling for those fuels. So let's get our 2 reactor cells, and let's go reactor cell, reactor cell. And now let's make ourselves a bunch of probably cryothium coolant cells, because these are pretty easy to make, really. We can make cryothium really easily. Its cryothium is 140. Emerald actually is probably cheaper and easier to make, just because we have a bunch of emeralds. Wait a second. Let's take the cell out so that we can actually see the emeralds. Must touch at least 1 active moderator block. 1 active moderator block on 1 reactor cell. Oh. That 1 active moderator block, and oh, so I need at least... I need some of these as well. Okay. So let's figure this out. We need to have these guys touching a moderator block and a reactor cell. So kind of like this. Right? This is what we're talking about. I'm assuming something like that. Now let's create some more reactor casing. Make some transparent reactor casing so that we can see inside. Like so. And temperature fuel trash can. So 2x3x2. The cooling is currently. So if we pop you in here and we get a lever. Oh, we have all of our levers on us. We go like this. Oh, yeah. Why is the cooling rate 0? Why is the cooling rate 0? So these things must touch at least one active moderator block and one reactor cell. Active beryllium increases. It's only considered active if it's touching at least one reactor cell. Wait, what? So wait, do other cooling things work differently, or is all cooling? So let's see. Must touch at least one active mod. So different ones work differently. Must touch at least one active water cooler and one active redstone cooler. Oh, so a redstone cooler must touch at least one reactor cell, and a water cooler must touch at least one reactor cell. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what coolers we need. Oh, okay, so this is a lot different than I was expecting. Must touch at least one reactor cell and one reactor casing. Very good. So these just check. Touch one reactor cell and one reactor casing. So there we go. Now the cooling is significantly faster than the cost of the material. That's fine. So that's what happened. It overheated because my cooling system was not set up in such a way that it would actually work. You have to be careful about what the coolers actually want you to do. That's fine. The only problem with that is, of course, that we lost the fuel we needed to make plutonium. Oh no, maybe it didn't. I think we've still got multiple pieces of HEN fuel. So it might not have lost it for us. So yeah, this is a nice amount of... I mean, this is 9,600 redstone flux per tick from that fuel cell. So actually, some of the later fuel cells, although they generate a lot of heat, we can cope with that. Some of the later fuel cells produce a lot of power. Not for very long, though. They don't last a very long time. So 7,200 RF per tick for 280 heat. Ooh, I'm in the reactor. Apparently I can teleport into the reactor. That's probably not a good thing. It's probably not a good thing being inside the reactor. And I have radiation problems going to other planets. And now I've just got a nuclear reactor in the corner of my base that I just went and sat in. Okay, so now we should be able to make a piece of plutonium-238. Like so. And then if we use this, we should be able to make a plutonium RTG. Yay! And the plutonium RTG is a consistent 1,000 RF per tick. So what we can actually do is go back into our compact machine, replace the 40 RF per tick with 1000 RF per tick, and guarantee that we're never going to run out of power in here. 1000 RF per tick is more than enough power for this guy to work forever. Just check. Yeah, we're still at maximum power, but what I'll do is I'll just flip this round and drop the plutonium one in there, because that way we guarantee that we're never going to have to worry about that. Now, when we get up to the Californium ones I think are 4000 RF per tick. And that, like, a single block producing 4000 RF per tick is pretty, kind of, pretty significant by itself. So the Americium is 500, and then the Californium is 4000. Now, Californium's a little bit more complicated to make. If we look at the fuel reprocessor, we've got to get depleted HEB fuel. And depleted HEB fuel is made from berkelium. Berkelium is made from depleted LECM, and LECM is made from curium, and curium is made from depleted LEP. And depleted LEP is made from plutonium. So actually, we're only like 3 cycles through. I might do that in my off time. I might do a cycle of just kind of making lots and lots of thorium. We'd have to make a lot of thorium to start it, because it all comes from thorium to begin with. But we can make quite a bit of thorium. Thorium is not massively efficient when used to make thorium ore, because it's 0.08, and I don't think we can do much with thorium ore other than double it. But when we use it with crystal liquid, it's 0.6, so it's many times more efficient. So I might set up a system where we're using crystal fluid again to make the thorium into thorium ingots, and we can make thorium fuel blocks, and then we can just burn through them very quickly and easily. I can put in some more fuel cells and even some modifiers to make it run faster, because we've got more than enough coolant. We've got more than enough cooling, so we could even put in a few of the berkelium blocks to make it run faster. However, it's not particularly difficult to make. This stuff is just poisonous potatoes, spider eyes, and gunpowder. The limiting thing there is poisonous potatoes, I think. Yeah, we kind of don't have any poisonous potatoes. We can make poisonous potatoes from normal potatoes and poison. Or we can combust normal potatoes with rotten flesh in a combustion chamber. In the meantime, I'll just make it in with stone. It's not that bad that we have to worry too much about it. But I will have a look at maybe making some Californium in the long term. If I do make some Californium, I'll kind of cut it together so that you can see as we make Californium. But yeah, it's an interesting little quest group to get us down to this guy, the plutonium RTG. But it was pretty good. Like, the RTGs are pretty good, but this unlocks 2 things that I really want to unlock. One of them is advanced resources, and one of them is the calculators mod. And there are some very simple reasons why I want to unlock these guys. Oh, also, I put my trophies up here, along with my monster trophies. So we've unlocked advanced resources and calculator mod. And these are 2 mods I did want to get into, advanced resources and advanced calculation. So advanced resources gives us access to light matter, dark matter, withers. To find a way to make wither skeletons and to kill the wither. So we want to kill the wither. It also accesses dark matter machines, illagers, automatic life infusers, quartus alchemical dust, which is even more powerful, accessing the end, the cold has never bothered me, which is light matter freezer, and are you really crushing it, which is the light matter crusher, the light matter machinery, health gems, lots of really powerful things from Sky Resources. And calculator mod accesses us the basic calculator mod, which does have some useful bits and pieces in it, like the atomic multiplier and things like that. Can allow us to make some interesting things. However, this flux. The flux mod is basically why I wanted to open calculators, because the flux mod is kind of like entangloporters and kind of like energy cells and kind of like energy cables, but just much, much better. So if we look up at flux networks, what we have access to now is we have access to flux, which is made by by throwing redstone into fire or lava. We have flux cores, which are made from obsidian, flux, and ender eyes. We have flux plugs, which add power to a network, flux points, which pull out power from a network, and flux controller, which allows us to manage a network, and then 3 kinds of basic flux storage. Basic flux storage, Herculean flux storage, and gargantuan flux storage. All pretty easy to make. And these guys are ridiculous. They are basically an infinite power network that goes across dimensions, that produces that can transfer infinite amounts of energy, that can store massive amounts of energy, and that can prioritize energy distribution. It's really very good indeed. And what we need is a bunch of flux. I need to turn my magnet off first. And this is a very, very easy thing to make. We've got an obsidian chicken that's making us obsidian, so we don't have to worry about obsidian. We've got lots of endermen dying and lots of blazes dying, so we don't have to worry about ender pearls. And there we go. We have an inventory full of flux. And this is just going to be amazing in the long run, because it's very similar to the Phantom Power networks, the Phantom Power, and it's very similar to the entangloporters, because we could have actually made, before now, we could have actually made entangloporters. I'm pretty sure we could have made these. Yeah, teleportation cores. They're pretty expensive, though, and although they do transfer items and fluids, we had the Phantom faces already. We didn't have that much necessity. But we have had problems transferring our power in and out of the machines. That's one of the things we've had problems with. So what we want to do is we want to make a whole bunch of these flux cores. There's 64 and 128. And we do want to make a flux configurator. And we want to make some flux points, which of course requires us to make blocks of flux. Let's make a bunch of flux blocks. And then we can make a couple of flux points for adding energy to the network. I think probably 3 for now. Last to add energy from everywhere we're going to be making energy. Flux points are a little bit cheaper, and they allow us to take energy out of the network. But what we also need is we need a flux controller. Pretty simple to make. And we need to start making flux storage. And you can see that this is reasonably expensive, but at the same time, like, we're not shy on any of these resources. This is certainly an end-game power management system, or a very late-game power management system. It's not designed to be an early-game power management system by any stretch of the imagination. And some glass panes. Six of these allows us to make one of these. And that's 12 million RF. But now we can look into basically what this does. So I'll probably... I have no idea where I'm going to put this. Let's put it down here for now. So this is our network. So please select a network. Create new network. Gaming Droid network. So we're going to color this probably 123, 70, 212, 210. I like a nice purple. I think we want a slightly deeper purple. Let's do 40 and let's do 170. No, 120. There we go. A kind of lilac deep purple. Private, allow for conversion, true, ng type, FE, redstone flux. There we go. And there we go. We now have our network. We're going to set the transfer limit to 2 million. Or sorry, 20 million RF per tick. Send mode is default. Receive mode is default. Transfer mode is even distribution. We want even distribution because we want the power to go everywhere. In no transfer mode. Yeah, in no transfer mode, basically it sends it to whichever has the highest priority. You can manually set priority, but it also randomly gives priorities to things. Best to put it in even distribution. It will then give power to everything evenly. We can set player inventory elements to charge our own inventory. So we can say charge our inventory, charge our armor, charge our baubles, charge our hotbar. Do I have anything that requires power that is not full? No, everything gets auto-charged anyway. I might be able to show you with this. No, I can't really sort of do it fast enough to show you. I might be able to show you with something from in here though. Capacitor. So we've got a nearly empty capacitor there. If we pop him down in here, you'll see that he's slowly charging because we've got a wireless charger available. If I then basically turn my flux network on, you'll see a much bigger difference. But if we pop the Herculean flux storage down, we can then select the network, Gaming Droids network. And now this thing has the opportunity to fill with power. But it's not going to fill with power because we're not actually giving it any power at the moment. We've got no access into the flux network. We're not transferring power into the flux network from anywhere. So we need to transfer power into the flux network. So what we need to do is we need to set up a power transfer in. So we have our adding power to the flux network point. What we can do is we can put him down. This thing now has 4 connections, so it can receive up to 48,000 RF per tick. Transfer limit 20 million. So it's receiving 12,000 RF per tick, which it should be receiving more than that. See, these things are going up. That may be because my cell is already full. Is it because my power is full? It could be because my Herculean storage is full. Yeah, that could possibly be why. So solar panels, and that one is, yeah, this does nothing. Let's have a look where these are connected. These are connected into, is that a connector on the top? Yeah, you are connected into here. So those power cells are providing power into there. And this is now ticking down. If we take a flux point here, we pop you here and we tell you to connect to the Gaming Droid network. Maximum 20 million. And output 0 RF per tick. Is that because output 12,000? Oh, sorry, 12,000 RF per tick. Why is it outputting more than that? Is that because this thing's maximum input is 12,000? No, maximum input is 200,000. So why are you only inputting 12,000? I wonder if that's just like a hard cap limit that's been set somewhere. I mean, 12,000 is not a terrible transfer speed, but 12,000 is also less than I can do with the Ender.io conduits, which would be a little bit disappointing if 12,000 was the actual like limit this thing caps out at. That's got 4,500 per tick coming in, and that's I didn't mean to come out of here. There we go, it's got 20,000 coming in now, which is the max that the Ender.io cables can transfer. So if we do that, yeah, 41,000. There we go. 61,000. And now we're getting 81,000 transfer into there. So yeah, we can transfer basically as much energy as we want through these flux plugs. Thought so. Wonder what the limitation was. So this guy is receiving 80,000 RF per tick, which should be slowly draining these down. Yeah, we're slowly coming along, draining the energy out of these things into our network. So yeah, we now have a way of transferring massive amounts of energy. We just have to now look into ways of producing massive amounts of energy. Now, what I can do in between episodes is I can actually strip this thing out. I don't actually need this induction casing storage anymore. I might stick it in a mega block at some point, or upgrade it and stick it in a mega block at some point. I don't need all of these cables running everywhere. I can just set up power plugs where I need them. But in the meantime, I need to think about my... So this one's currently getting in 28,000, which is about how much RF we're generating inside that machine. And this is currently outputting 28,000. So 28,000 is about as much RF as we are producing inside. Although we are slowly draining RF. 28,000 is about as much RF as we were producing inside the compact machine. So we need to think about energy production, energy usage, energy distribution. That's going to be something for in between quests. But that is the main reason I wanted Calculator. Now, Calculator itself is an interesting mod. It is another one of those wait and see mods. Once we get past 16 acceleration cards, I love the fact that these chests become more valuable the longer you play. It makes a very interesting thing. But basically, as we get further along, these chains, like this bit is basically instant. Once we get into calculating atoms, separating blocks, separating algorithms, obtaining circuits, repairing circuits, analyzing circuits, and multiplying circuits, these things, these basically the block ones, are time-based. So you have to give them energy, but then you also have to wait for quite a while, and there's no real way of upgrading the speed properly. So that's going to be a big waiting game. Other than that, we've got dark matter, we've got wither skeleton skulls, and we've got light matter. So let's have a look at Sky Resources. So light matter is made in the combustion chamber from alchemical gold, frozen iron, heavy snow, and end stone. Very, very easy. All of those things are easy apart from maybe the end stone, but I think, yeah, we're getting end stone from our void resource miner anyway. So we should have a nice batch of end stone. As for dark matter, which is in here somewhere, there it is. Same thing, we make it from tungsten steel, which we've got coming in from a chicken, enderium, which we've got coming in from a chicken, refined obsidian, which we don't have coming in from a chicken, but we could, hardened coal, which is just a bunch of coal, and soul sand, which we have coming in from our resource miner. So again, we can make that reasonably easily. So with the skeleton skulls, these guys, we either need to get withering ribs or wither souls, with skeleton essence, or with skeleton skull fragments. We can get it from reusable orbs. We can make wither skeleton skulls in the blood infuser from skeleton skulls and a promise of tenacity 3. So we can make these in the blood infuser nice and easily. So I think what we'll do in the next episode is we'll come back, I'll show you the power system I've set up, or the power distribution system I've set up. I'll probably have done some radiation burning, and I'll probably put that in a separate video. I might stream that, or stream the script down and setup of things. And in the meantime, I will be turning skulls into wither skulls in our blood, because we have 6 million buckets of blood, and we have a tenacity 3 over here, so we can just turn wither skeleton skulls into wither skeleton skulls, so we can farm the wither. Now, I'm hoping there's an easier way to get nether stars than farming the wither, because farming the wither is going to be a pain in the butt. Nether star shards around a nether star. An analysis chamber has a 0.01% chance to extract a nether star. And then we can use the alkahestry tome, which we can make now. We can make alkahestry tomes. Absorbs glowstone and redstone. Yeah, we can make alkahestry tomes. Because we've got witches' hats. Eye of the Storm we can get quite easily using Psy, because we can lightning bolt a creeper to get to get charged creepers. Got it. Can make it. Alkahestry tomes, and then we can literally just duplicate nether stars using the alkahestry tome, so we can basically turn redstone into nether stars. Awesome! So that will be something for the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. I have been the Gaming Droid. This has been Modern Skyblock 3, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.